dear learners. Today we embark on an insightful journey into the realm of rural marketing, specifically focusing on the pivotal roles of public relations, publicity and personal selling as promotion strategies. Understanding these elements is crucial for effectively reaching and engaging one of the world's largest and most dynamic consumer bases. Given the critical importance of public relations, publicity and personal selling in rural marketing promotion strategies, we have prepared an in-depth 4-part video lecture series. These topics require detailed exploration to ensure a thorough understanding. So, we have broken them down into manageable sections to facilitate effective learning. Before we delve into the details, let us outline our learning objectives for this session. By the end of this video lecture, you should be able to clearly understand the significance of public relations, publicity and personal selling in the context of rural marketing, the key challenges faced when implementing these strategies in rural India, the various tools and techniques commonly employed for effective rural public relations and publicity, how personal selling in particular fosters consumer trust and engagement in these areas, and finally, the vital ethical and cultural considerations that must guide promotional practices in rural settings. Let us begin by understanding the promotion mix. In marketing, the promotion mix refers to the blend of communication tools a company uses to inform customers about its products or services and persuade them to buy. Three key elements of this mix are public relations or the PR as we commonly call it, publicity and personal selling. Public relations or the PR is about building and managing a favorable public image and fostering positive relationships. This is often achieved through unpaid media coverage like press releases about a company's good work or by engaging in community initiatives. Closely related is publicity, which specifically refers to the media attention or public awareness a company gains, often for free, by doing something newsworthy or beneficial. Then we have personal selling. This involves a direct, often face-to-face interaction between a company's salesperson or agent and a potential customer. Unlike mass advertising, it is an interactive communication tailored to the individual's needs and feedback. Now, how do these three elements work? While PR, publicity and personal selling have distinct roles, they are highly complementary. Public relations and publicity primarily aim to build awareness, establish credibility and cultivate a positive brand image without relying on direct paid advertising. This is especially powerful in markets where consumers might be skeptical of traditional ads. Think of a positive news story about a company's contribution to a local school. That is PR generating publicity. Personal selling, on the other hand, focuses on direct personal engagement. Its strength lies in educating customers, answering their specific questions and ultimately closing sales by building interpersonal trust. So, you can see how they complement each other. PR and publicity lay the groundwork by creating a positive perception and awareness, which then makes the job of personal selling more effective. To understand the significance of these promotional tools, we must consider the context of rural marketing in India. It is a landscape of immense scale and opportunity. Did you know, dear learners, that nearly 68.8% of India's population lives in rural areas? This represents a vast consumer base with a projected contribution of about $100 billion in retail sales by 2025. However, rural markets are not just urban markets transplanted to the countryside. They possess unique characteristics from infrastructure to culture, from media habits to decision making processes. This uniqueness demands a tailored promotional approach, moving beyond one size fits all strategies. Why is this tailoring so important? You might ask. It's because standard urban strategies often don't resonate or even reach rural audiences effectively. Let us first examine the importance of public relations and publicity in the rural marketing environment. Reaching and convincing rural consumers heavily relies on building trust and awareness through community oriented strategies. In tight knit village communities, news and opinions spread rapidly, primarily through word of mouth. People inherently trust recommendations from friends, family, and respected community members far more than conventional advertising. A positive story about a product featured in the local newspaper or an endorsement from a well regarded local NGO can therefore carry immense weight. Moreover, individuals like village leaders, school teachers, or local health workers often act as local influencers. Partnering with them can lend authenticity and legitimacy to a brand, making them effective, informal PR agents. Think about it. If the village teacher recommends a new educational tool, parents are more likely to trust that advice. PR efforts such as sponsoring a village health camp or supporting a local festival generate significant goodwill and publicity. This raises awareness even among audiences with limited access to mainstream media. Equally, if not more, important is personal selling in rural marketing. Why is it so critical? Well, many rural consumers have limited exposure to mass media advertisements, perhaps due to lower literacy levels, inconsistent electricity supply, or limited internet access. They often prefer interpersonal communication. A salesperson or a trained local representative can bridge this gap effectively. They can explain product uses in the local dialect, physically demonstrate the product, and answer questions immediately. This is particularly vital for educating consumers who may be encountering a product or technology for the first time. Beyond just transactions, this face-to-face approach is instrumental in building relationships. In rural markets, personal selling often cultivates long-term client relationships due to these personalized interactions. Studies show that once rural consumers are convinced of a brand's value through such interactions, they tend to exhibit strong brand loyalty for years. This loyalty stems from trust, especially since rural buyers are historically cautious and value assurance, often due to past experiences with less scrupulous marketers. So, let us quickly recap the importance of these promotional tools. Public relations and publicity lay the essential groundwork of trust, awareness, and credibility, often leveraging the power of word of mouth and local community structures. Personal selling then builds upon this trust, engaging consumers directly, educating them, and ultimately guiding their purchase decisions through valuable personal interaction. In essence, all three are critical in rural India because conventional advertising often doesn't suffice to gain the confidence of rural consumers. Marketers who invest wisely in these approaches often find themselves rewarded with not just sales but also deep seated trust, loyalty, and invaluable word of mouth promotion. Having established their importance, it is crucial to acknowledge that implementing these promotional strategies in rural India is not without its difficulties. Companies face several unique challenges. We will now explore these hurdles in detail, covering geographical dispersion and infrastructure, literacy levels and media reach, cultural and linguistic diversity, issues of trust and skepticism, the nature of communication channels, and finally, cost and scale considerations. Understanding these challenges is the first step towards devising effective solutions. The first major challenge is geographical dispersion and poor infrastructure. India has over 6 lakh villages, many of which are spread across vast and sometimes difficult terrains. Reaching these remote locations for personal sales calls or to organize PR events can be incredibly costly and time consuming due to poor road conditions and limited transportation options. Imagine the logistical effort required to cover so many small scattered markets. Furthermore, inadequate electricity supply and inconsistent internet connectivity in many areas significantly limit the scope of publicity through modern media channels like television or online platforms. Next, we encounter the challenge of low literacy and media reach. In many rural areas, literacy rates and formal education levels are lower than in urban centers. What does this mean for promotion? Well, it limits the effectiveness of campaigns that heavily rely on written text such as printed brochures or detailed newspaper advertisements. Many villagers may not read them, rendering such publicity ineffective. Consequently, promotional efforts must lean heavily on oral communication, vivid visuals and practical demonstrations. Low digital literacy also means that rural consumers engage less with online marketing, pushing marketers to focus on traditional or in-person channels. India's rural landscape is a rich tapestry of cultures and languages. This cultural and language diversity presents another significant challenge. With over a dozen major languages and hundreds of dialects spoken across the country, crafting PR messages or publicity campaigns that resonate locally is a complex task. It requires deep cultural sensitivity and extensive localization. A promotional message, perhaps a festival reference that works wonderfully in one state, might be irrelevant or even misinterpreted elsewhere. Marketers must ensure their promotions are culturally attuned to avoid causing offense or to genuinely connect with rural audiences. This often means hiring local people for personal selling and PR roles, individuals who inherently understand local customs and speak the dialect fluently. Building trust and overcoming skepticism is perhaps one of the most critical challenges. Rural consumers often tend to be conservative when it comes to adopting new products or ideas. They can be skeptical of companies, especially those perceived as outsiders. This caution is sometimes reinforced by past experiences where unscrupulous operators might have sold substandard or counterfeit products. Therefore, establishing trust is not just a challenge, but an essential prerequisite before any effective selling can occur. Now, how is this trust built? Well, dear learners, it requires patience, consistent positive engagement, a visible track record of community involvement for PR, and often repeated genuine interactions by salesperson to gain acceptance and credibility. Don't you agree, dear learners? The effectiveness of communication channels and their reach also poses a challenge. While mass media penetration like television and print is improving, it remains limited in many remote villages. This means that traditional advertising campaigns might not effectively reach a large segment of the rural population. This elevates the importance of channels like local radio and on-ground events for generating publicity. However, organizing such events or getting coverage in local press can be more difficult in rural areas due to fewer established media outlets and a less concentrated journalist presence. As a result, companies often have to be innovative and generate their own publicity through methods like mobile vans or interactive roadshows. Finally, marketers grapple with cost and sales issues. Effectively covering a geographically vast rural area through personal selling necessitates a large field force, which is inherently costly to recruit, train and maintain. The return on investment per village can be low initially given smaller population clusters and often lower per capita purchasing power compared to urban areas. Providing logistics, ongoing training and support for a rural sales force represents a significant operational challenge. Similarly, PR campaigns involving physical events like health camps or participation in local fairs also involve substantial costs and intricate coordination with local authorities. And all these expenses must be managed while ensuring that the final product prices remain affordable, as rural consumers are typically highly price sensitive. It is a delicate balancing act, isn't it, dear learners? Let us pause for a brief recap of the key challenges we have discussed. These include the difficult reach due to infrastructure and geography, literacy and media limitations that demand alternative communication methods, the vast cultural and linguistic diversity requiring sensitive localization, the deep-seated skepticism that necessitates patient trust building, the limited reach of traditional communication channels, pushing for innovative local solutions, and the significant cost and scale issues associated with serving price sensitive markets. Despite these formidable challenges, companies have not been deterred. Instead, they have often responded with creative solutions and out of the box thinking to successfully engage rural markets. This leads us to our next video lecture, where we will explore some of these innovative tools and techniques. So, till we meet again, happy learning, dear learners, and keep up the good faith.